morning to you. The Chief Executive for Wembley Sports Complex, aka One Constituency, One Turf, Robert Coleman. You're watching us this morning. We're coming to discuss sex. I mean, not now. I'm not saying that you love sex, Robert Coleman.
What's the thing with sex? You make it look we're coming to discuss sex. Is that what we're coming to do?
No, come to do newspapers.
Good morning, by the way. Good morning. If you just tuned in, you missed the news. But we're on to the newspapers. What it is, Roland, since you want to corrupt the whole conversation, let me streamline it appropriately. So last week, if you'd quite remember, just a week today, the members of parliament, I think the previous day, were talking about sex education. You know, they're talking about teenage pregnancy and things like that. And up in your marking,
who's a member of parliament for
Ifutu.
Yeah.
Raise the issue about, you know, if they must do it, then they must.
Yes, you were saying, I think it was mainly about the lack of parents adequately educating their children, because you have this myth about if you educate them, it means that he was saying people really are having the young people. But
on that day, we saw quite a number of members of parliament, if you like, also get into the conversation about sex education and all of that.
Is that we had lots of messages?
Following that, we had lots of messages. People asking, so what is the appropriate age? And I remember saying, we all don't know. Parenting is something that we all learn. It's more like learning on the job, and it's not one thing fitting everybody. So what we're doing today is to open up that conversation properly. Now, here's what we've done. We're bringing on the show people who are parents as well, because what we want to do is to share experiences, and that's exactly what we'll be doing this morning. Fortunately for us, one beautiful lady who will be joining us. I think she's got 4 female children, and they are all a bit grown now, so it will be good to hear her experience. And then we have somebody else also joining who's got very young kids. Roland has 2 sons. I've got 2 sons as well, so it will be good. And then we can invite you to also join us in that conversation. So it's an open conversation this morning, but we're boxing that up with a few things. Tomorrow, God willing, Ebony Rains will be laid to rest, so we will talk about that. CK Man also died in the course of this week, so we will be talking about that as well. So lots of things to look forward. But remember that the RTI bill that we want to see in Parliament, well, today is actually the deadline. There was a 10-day window that was given to government to send the bill to Parliament. We're going to be checking with Joseph Opoku-Gakpo if that has been done, if that was done yesterday by close of day yesterday. But here's a little reminder in terms of what some parents and children had to say about sex education in that interaction with Jackie. We'll bring you just a little bit of it, and then when we get into the conversation properly, we'll bring you all the angles to it.
I would be worried if my daughter engaged in sexual activities at a teenage age. I'll be very worried. Why would you be worried? Oh, I believe that is not the right time for teenage girls to engage in such acts. That will make me worry.
Yes, I do.
Why would you be worried?
Because
sex is when 2 individuals, a male and a female, come together and agree to have sexual intercourse.
I know that sex is between 2 adults that are married, because it's in the Bible that only 2 people can have sex.
Sex was designed by God for 2 adults in order for...
I know that sometimes it scares parents when their children begin to talk about sex. They know it. They can talk about it. I think it's good when we allow them to say what they think they know about it. But the difficult thing is there's no fixed solution in terms of at what age must you do it, and how do you even begin the conversation. And so I think that you know, what we can do is to bring experiences on board. There's nothing better than people sharing their experiences and telling us how they did it, so that it can be a guide for some of us as well. So if you're very experienced in this area, I would love to hear from you. Send us a regular text message or a WhatsApp message. Roland, you have a 9-year-old? I think he's almost 10 now, right?
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old.
Have you done the sex education yet?
I think last time he was asking what is sexual intercourse. So I
Oh, he
explained to
did?
her. I think just this week, yeah. He asked me. And then I think I've had in my thing somewhere an old condom that was flying around.
Okay.
So the younger one asked me some months ago, what is this? I think he knew. But there's no point trying. He knows it, so I told him.
So don't say. Wait, don't say. What I want us to
used
do.
by adults.
What I want us to do is when we get into that conversation, you tell me how. Yeah, you'll be part of the conversation. You tell me how you did it, and then we all can learn. Or you don't want to be. If you don't want to, then
no, that's okay. That's okay. I want to listen to the experiences.
Let's do the newspapers.
It's fascinating. These are the children no more. I mean, back in my day, I used to watch Pure Monko. You know the video, the VHS cassette, those movies through the Pure Monko. So when you're watching, then either your daddy or somebody or wherever you're watching will tell you, hey, close your eyes, then you do like this, you watch it. But these days, I mean, they choose to watch or not to watch.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
It's become
they know it all.
Everything. It's in video clips. It's in
It scares parents.
No, the thing is that it's there, so you have to confront it, and you have to let your children be your friends. I think they'll tell you a lot more.
Yeah.
You tell them, oh, this is not good, this is good. Yeah.
Let's start off with the Ghanaian Times newspaper, shall we? Roland has got the Ghanaian Times.
So I have the Ghanaian Times. On the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we have the story. 20 drug peddlers arrested in a crime. That story is on page 9 of the newspaper, the Ghanaian Times. Right, RTI bill to be laid before the House today. And yesterday I was in Parliament. I saw my colleagues, mainly members of the Press Corps of Parliament, wearing T-shirts with write-ups saying that lay the RTI bill now and all that. And I believe, well, it's all part of the campaign canvassing, all that advocacy to make sure that it's laid before the House goes on that break. Dismiss Ayene's case against me. Martin Amido is a special prosecutor, but he's still talking. But this one in relation to his office and his person. NDC vows to suspend military agreement if they are elected into office as the next government or as government. And let's look at the main story. Page 3 of the paper has a story that 20 suspected drug peddlers have been arrested by the police in Asopa, Tessan or in Accra. And usually the police will go and do this swoops around all these suspected peddlers up, but without the evidence, they are usually dismissed when they get to the court. That's been my experience. I don't know about these people though, so I wouldn't say I know. We have on the back page, experts brainstorm on local governance reforms. And then we have refurbished Medina Magistrate Court, the CJ urges Assembly, and the Chief Justice, Ms. Sophia Ekufo, has asked the La Nkwantanan Medina Municipal Assembly to urgently repair broken down facilities at the Medina Magistrate Court here in Accra. The court, constructed in 2005, has not been refurbished, leading to the deterioration of its facilities. And the washrooms, for example, in the magistrate's chamber and that of the staff are not functioning, while the one in the prisoner cells, when flushed, leaves a strong stench at the court premises. The seats at the courts were also not in the best of shape, and on we go about this. Ghana for you. Mama, you have the Daily Graphic.
The Daily Graphic newspaper, front page of the Graphic on this day. 272 financial institutions in distress, a revelation by the governor of the Bank of Ghana. That story is on page 3. It says the Bank of Ghana says about 705,396 depositors of distressed or collapsed microfinance institutions and rural and community banks are at risk of losing a total of 740.5 million Ghana cedis, and this amount represents a deposit currently locked up in the 272 RCBs, and that's rural and community banks, and then the microfinance institutions. Okay, so details of that there, but irrespective or despite these figures being put out there and the fact that most of these financial institutions are in distress. The governor says the outlook is positive. Okay, so he made the revelation when he gave an update on the challenges facing the financial sector, which is categorized into two banks and non-financial, banks and non-bank financial institutions. So details of all of that. The only thing is that they don't tell us which institutions are in distress, so that we can, you know, be careful if we want to invest or things like that. But at least the details are here in the Daily Graphic newspaper. You can grab the paper and be updated. Also on the front page, withdraw defense cooperation agreement. That's a call coming from the NDC following a press conference that was held. So the picture on the front page of the paper is one that captures the General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, and then Mr. Kofi Portofe, the national chairman of the party, and then Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka, the minority chief whip in Parliament. Picture by Ebo Hansen, and story on page 16 in the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says the NDC has called on the government to withdraw the defense cooperation agreement between Ghana and the United States of America. It has also asked that the government to reflect on the agreement while engaging the broad spectrum of Ghanaians on the country's long-term security interests. So Johnson Asiedu Nketia stated the party's position at a press conference at its Adabraka headquarters in Accra yesterday. He described the haste with which President Akufo-Addo was going about the proposed agreement as very worrying. So it goes on to tell us a bit more about what the NDC and some key members of the party have been saying about this particular agreement. Remember, it's also generated some controversies, all of us having our say on it. Unbelievable really is the terms of this, the fact that the Americans will essentially be free to be walking about in Ghana, no checks and things like that. So you can catch up on the rest of what the NDC had to say in the Daily Graphic. Also, Japan proposes bins for households to improve sanitation. That's the Zoom Lion boss. That story is on page 37. And he has said that one household, one dustbin. So that's where we're going. One district, one factory. And one household, one dustbin. But most of the houses already have dustbins, don't they? But of course, there are certain areas where they don't have bins.
There are a lot of areas, and according to what the survey is, many of the places that generate the bulk of the waste that become inseparable, in which you even spend a lot more money, they have this containerized depots.
But I wonder how that is going to happen, because you find that these are like very closed areas and they have a central point where they You
mean they can't have a bin in the house?
In each household. I don't know. Why are you even going to place it? Because that's also going to be a problem.
You mean in the house they can't have a place to put
I doubt. There are certain areas, the areas are so choked. And that's why they have this central big bin that the vehicle goes to pick at, you know. You would know the times when they pick them. I'm saying that if you have like a compound house where there are many people, are you saying that each household, so in terms of every door has a bin? Is that what we are saying? Or we're calling for the entire household having a bin in front of it?
Yes, the entire household, I think.
But some of the places are so enclosed.
Well, I get your
point. You
can't
have a bin in front of the house. You can only have them go and throw it out into the bigger bin close of day or something. I don't know, but you can read the rest of what he had to say in the paper. But for me, in my area, the bin is not an issue. It's when it is collected that is the problem. And then the vehicles are also spoiling the bins, because some of the drivers don't take their time. They just carry the thing, and before you know, they've just broken all the bins. You're changing bins like every month. And I'll begin to mention vehicle numbers. And if I get the names of drivers, I will mention them as well. I'm going to call them out. If it is Zoom Lion, Zoom Alliance, or the rest, I'll call them out. Because it's not fair that people will be buying bins like every month. It is not fair. It's for the collectors to also ensure that they do it with utmost care. You can't And I realized that some of the collectors, I don't know, you're angry about the job that you're doing. That is your job. You're being paid to do it. You understand? But it's almost as if I'll be calling out names. Just Mama V chill.
You should get the names
Mama
of the
chill.
collectors and let's see.
Yeah, I'll be doing it with the numbers, and I'll take pictures of them with the vehicle numbers.
Vim. Okay, let's move on.
I'm sure people can relate. You buy a fresh bin, and before you know, the handle is broken, you know, and before you know, everything is just divided.
Mama V.
Yes.
These are domestic issues. Oh.
A domestic is part of it's life.
Let's do daily guide.
That is why we are here. So it is not just about advocating for every household to get a bin, and I'm talking to Zoom Lion right now. It is also for the collectors to do it on time. And I'm checking to see if this week Zoom Lion will pick my refuse. Because if they don't, then it means they're doing it like 3 weeks, which is really not fair. It's not right. Let's do the daily guide.
Let's do the daily guide. On the front page of the daily guide, we have Amidu fires NDC over corruption fight. Cuts down killer rents. Green Street begs Nana. Mahama still cries over defeat. And we have Ayariga sues government over project. Now let's move on straight away. Let's look at page 3 of the paper. Mama, you're sweating. After all, you are remembering the waste, eh? Let's move on.
But seriously, they must pick my refuse
it's
today.
okay, la.
You brought it up again.
Chill.
You brought it up again.
Special Prosecutor Martin Alamisi. There's this one. Benz Kaiser. Yeah. Which one is it? Alamisi Benz.
All of it. He's proud. He's the owner of all of the names.
Alamisi Benz Kaiser Amidu has replied to a suit filed by a former Deputy Attorney General and Member of Parliament for Bolga East, Dr. Dominic Ayini, challenging the appointment of him into the public service, citing the age barrier. According to Mr. Amidu, the suit challenging his appointment on grounds that he has passed the statutory age for employment into the public service is without merit and not to be dismissed by the Supreme Court. And he's quoted here saying, he said, to be the best of my knowledge, information and belief, the plaintiff, Dominic Ayini, brought this action in his name, fronting for the immediate past government to set at naught the popular wishes of the majority of the Ghanaian electorate, who see the president's acceptance of the nomination of the second defendant as special prosecutor as being in the national interest to attack the canker of corruption in the body politic. Just remembering when he appeared before Parliament. All right. And we have other stories that Mahama sues is an ongoing issue. He says he's the chairman of Parliament's Committee on Subsidiary Legislation. So, so let's go. We have other stories there. News 1 pullout of the Daily Guide. I used the Bible to chase Christian girls, according to Azigiza, was appearing on a program on one of the stations in Accra. Martha Ankoma joins Glow as an ambassador. Glow.
I use the Bible to chase Christian girls. Like, I don't understand.
Who has a Glow number? Glow.
They're still operational.
Okay. I remember I called Derek. Some has their number, yeah. Waisa faces judgment on April 25 and remain hopeful, Ghanaians urge. And that's coming from an apostle.
This on Azigiza, like, I don't get it.
I think it was a personality program or a profile. And he said he revealed that he used to study the Bible back in the day when he was in his prime, just to be conversant with the verses of the Bible and the chapters, etc.
He used that to con girls?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
okay.
behave as if he to his crib. You know, and it was...
To get the crib girls?
You know.
Okay.
It means the crib girls were not crib after all. That's what all that it means. Mama, we have the finder.
Azigiza on joy. Yo.
Look at you.
Let's do the Finder newspaper front page of the Finder. 740 million Ghana cedis financial scandal as monies of 705,396 depositors are locked up. RTI bill goes to Parliament today. Some of us really want to see it in Parliament before we will believe it. After all, the last one went through a number of stages in Parliament. Even that, we didn't see it come to fruition. So we want to see it in Parliament, then we can begin to believe that the bill goes to Parliament. The bill's been walking walking from where exactly? Like Flagstaff House? So where is it now?
It's still at the Flagstaff House.
Ah.
Only not on the table of cabinet, yeah.
Ah, okay. There was some conflicting, the vice president had said that the bill had been approved by cabinets and that it was going to be in parliament. Then we had a majority leader.
So it's yet to be approved by parliament.
Exactly. So they're both in cabinet? They both go to cabinet meetings?
I think they should.
Because
this man represents government's
Parliamentary
business in parliament, so he
Yeah.
should. And the vice president too, last week I had been talking about 570 boreholes or 40. No, dams, right? What's the budget said 100? The vice president.
So, okay.
He's been talking.
That's why we need a bill. You see, we need a bill.
So we
Then,
can find out. Do you intend building 570 whilst you have budgeted for 100 or what? Then we'll ask RTI.
And then RTI, then we can ask and we can get the proof of exactly what has been approved. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, let's look at what's also on the front page of the Finder. Minority blocks committee's report on U.S. military deal. GCB expands Saturday banking branches again. And then unleashing the power of women and girls. So what it is the U.S. Ambassador, Robert Porter Jackson, he's been speaking a lot. And he almost reminds me of the former British High Commissioner to Ghana. He was also a very vocal man, talking a lot. Robert Jackson seemed to be close to that, at least. There are lots of stories in the Finder newspaper. We're going to do a few of your messages, and then we will quickly go online to check out what's making our page first, myjoyonline.com. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch up with what's on the BBC, the Africa page. But here's one that's saying good morning to us. Finally, the RTI bill will be laid in Parliament. Mensa Oklu in Akachi, all excited about it. But Mensa, I say, let's wait for it.
Mensa Oklu is texting you. Good morning to you, Mensa Oklu. I know him.
You know him?
Yep.
Okay. And then he comes back to talk on the sex education. He says sex education should be taught in our schools. Here's another one. Thank you very much for the compliment. Says a lot of parents think their wards do not know anything about sex. They already know, and it is better we find a way of educating them. Pa Mensa in Commenda also sending this message. Please, is there the sugar factory operational? You should be able to tell us. You live in Commenda. This one from Shadow in Daboase says, I would wish a survey is conducted among 10 teenagers from maybe 15 years to 19 years. Find out how many of these kids haven't had sex. Do that survey at church, and you are repeating church. These kids are having sex already, if not where from the teenage pregnancies. And these parents who are being hypocritical about sex topics have many of them avoided sex during their teenage ages. You're asking such parent. Well, Shadow in Daboase, very interesting the angle that you come from. Thank you very much for the message. The brouhaha that has greeted the U.S. military raises issues both niggling, you say, and worrisome. Okay, so you're talking about that. Kusi in Ejuso Besease. Thank you very much for the message, but I've got to move on and read others. This one says, yesterday was World Water Day. Ken from Jachi, yes, we know. There is a bridge just before you enter the Jachi Township. Please, am I pronouncing the name of the town well? Which is choked, and the way water is heaping up at the place, I just see a great disaster on the way. I asked the guy who stays closer and the house is covered by the water, and he said he has informed the assemblyman. Okay, here's what you would do for us. Please send me a picture of what you're talking about, or send me a video, rather. Just use your phone to record a short video for me. Thank you very much for the message. We'll come back and read a lot more of your messages this morning that you're sending to us. Let's see. I can read a few of the regular text messages as well. We'll come back to that. Let's do online, myjoyonline.com, Roland.
So myjoyonline.com, Ayine leads Unibank to challenge Bank of Ghana takeover in court. Former Attorney General Dominic Ayine will lead former managers of Unibank in an attempt to overturn the bank's takeover by the central bank, reports indicate.
Is this a fight that can easily be won, considering this?
Well, the courts will decide that.
Well,
I think it's a very good attempt, though.
Yeah.
Because we're told that the other banks are in distress. I don't know, is Unibank that's more distressed than the other ones?
But who is in a better place to say that? It's not the regulator. What Bank of Ghana sees and what they don't talk about, nobody else sees.
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
But they also have a right to challenge that.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the whole point.
Absolutely, they do. My only problem is that we don't drag it unnecessarily so that a comeback may not look possible. You know, the more people have a certain perception about your bank, and that's why we don't even, when people send us messages and they mention certain banks and associate certain things with them, we don't put it out like the way they've said it, because you're careful.
So it means that is the Bank of Ghana that could have done this without going public.
Well, but they said they didn't tell them. They didn't do full disclosure. They asked certain questions and they were not forthcoming.
So they had to go public.
So because the Bank of Ghana makes a lot of intervention in these banks and we don't even know about it.
And in this circumstance, they did a lot.
Yes, that's what we're told. Except that because they were not forthcoming with certain things, now they had, and that's why there's KPMG, which is an independent body that's going to be auditing and be reporting back to the Bank of Ghana. I'm just saying that, you know, we're told that there's a possibility that after the 6 months, it will go back into private hands. It will go back, you know, reverts, essentially. I'm just saying that let's not make it really difficult so that when that time comes, you know, I don't know.
Become pretty.
Yeah, but of course, they have every right to go to the courts.
Ghana-US military deal. Agreement, not argument. Next. I will hire you for key projects. Housing Minister assures Ghanaian engineers, and he's assured that his ministry will continue to engage them for key projects.
It's true. You know, because we're getting funds from outsiders, they bring their own engineers and people to come and supervise the projects. So if it's a road and we're getting the fund, a grant from
Brazil,
wherever, they bring their people to come and do it. And
it's
you
part
wonder,
of the conditionalities.
Exactly. So our own Ghanaian engineers,
they get to do the budget, the Domiabra road to this one. So that one, when you get there, then they spoil it. I don't know.
What are you saying?
Well, they don't work in the key roads, so perhaps maybe they don't have. I'm not saying they're not competent. Maybe the experience is not as theirs. I mean, pardon me. I'm ignorant of engineering.
I totally, yeah. That's a point of ignorance, really.
Yeah,
I totally disagree.
I'm speaking from I'm speaking from the point of ignorance.
Yeah, I remember when we did the Tetekwashi.
Was that by Ghanaian, that road?
No,
it's Sonitra that did.
I'm just saying that I remember when we did it. There were so many things, because we live in Ghana. We know where the choked areas are. We know how things are, and we got a lot of Ghanaian engineers coming on the back of that to tell us exactly what we should have done instead. So I don't know. We need.
But for that road and some of the road, I think Sonitra worked with Comtra. They work with a lot of Ghanaian consultants, and the consultant, they say they consult about the engineers.
My problem is not even because these companies are in Ghana. These companies are based in Ghana. My problem is when people give us the grants, they bring their own people.
Yeah, it's a problem across Africa, and I believe in Asia a lot. Yeah, they want to bring their own people. That's part of the condition.
So
that's
I wonder what is left for our own trained engineers.
Domiabra Road.
Why do you keep saying Domiabra Road?
It's not only Domiabra. You go to Apegusu and the Inchi. Those are there. So where you go, you see that road, Gota. So let's move on. I know you don't want me to. I'm not saying the engineers are not good. They work mass work, but Chris Asafo.
No, you see, I think the thing is that if you're even as ordinary people, when you bring a carpenter or when you're building and you bring somebody to come and do something, you're asking them to cut down. It's almost like it's easy for us to tell each other cut down, but when it's a foreign person, because when you cut down, you never know what you're cutting
you lose
down.
Quality.
Exactly. So they have to, and because you also want the deal, when they say cut down, then you also reduce something small here, something small there, and it reduces the quality of the work that you've done.
You have friends who are engineers. You seem to know a lot about how the
localizing the problem. Yeah, I'm just localizing.
Mama one.
We've got a little time.
Our dignity is priceless. $20 million US can't buy it. Blackwa responds to US ambassador. Today, the whole week has been sweet, eh?
You know, I have a question. So when we did it in 1998 and subsequently when we how much did we get for it again?
I'm saying that when you're in a position, your eyes are open, like eager.
Now I can see.
But when you're in government, so right now the MPP, their eyes are all. Now NDC, their eyes are. And then when the MPP was the opposition, 2016, and then the NDC was like this.
Oh my God.
When I join government, my eyes will be like this.
No. Your eyes will be.
Like my eyes will be intense.
You'll be worse.
You don't like me. Let's move on, Mamavi. Mamavi, you have to speak well of me. Some people are watching, so what you say reflects in people's minds.
U.S. Embassy honors 2 Ghanaians with 2018 Martin Luther King Award, but of course, this has been overshadowed by this agreement that we've been talking about. Also, let's do this quickly, please. There's a video. All you need to know about Ghana-U.S. defense agreements, and then another video talking about tourists deplore sanitary conditions at Cape Cook's Castle. And I got a message a bit earlier from Samuel in Takrade who says, could you let Catherine Apeku, who's a tourism minister, if she wants to boost tourism, she has to focus on cleaning our beaches first before our tourist sites, because the European wants to stay at the beaches most. And then, so Samuel in Takrade, Abuesi Beach Resort, that's where you're sending this message from. Okay, this one's from former Deputy Interior Minister, unaware of 2015 U.S. Ghana military pact content. And they say, this is worse because this is Interior Ministry. This is, and I think the person was commenting on it was relating it to like Home Secretary. So if you don't know a deal like this existed, when it comes to local security, it's like in your domain, then that's worse than any other thing. Next, NDC government will slap treason charges on Nitiwu over military deal, according to Johnson Esiedu Nketia, the General Secretary of the NDC. There are many more stories on myjoyonline.com. And then now, the big question we are asking, if you go on myjoyonline.com, you see that there's a countdown, there's a clock that's been ticking. It's been ticking for a while now. It says, where is the RTI bill, Mr. President? But we wait to see, since today is the day that Parliament will be rising. So we will start the day. It will be quite a long day. So we're all waiting closely to see if the bill will make its way to Parliament.
Actually, the last days they always do wakekeeping. They close late. Very late. All right.
Yeah.
We're done?
Yeah, we're done. We will just do the BBC. We'll have just time to do the BBC, but let's do your messages while we get ready to go through the BBC. Mamavi, how is Iyoko and Deputy EC Boss doing? Jolali and Nyasa in Avadakwa. Thank you very much, my good friend.
It's not Avadakwa.
Avadakwa.
Dakwa.
Dakwa. Yeah. Where exactly is it?
Avadakwa is on the road there. Let's move on.
On the road close to where? Which town?
It's the Veno area.
Oh, okay. All right. Please forgive me.
Akachi.
Yes, Iyoko. But the deputy, did she go back? Did she go back to her office? The showdown.
You know, there's an audio leaking around that for which the Graphic Online, Major Online, they've been publishing something. So they said there's an audio. I believe she's the one.
Showdown. When you're doing the talk, I'll go and familiarize myself with that.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, let's see. I'll do only very short messages. There are also some old men who have sex with ladies who can even be their daughters. A typical example. Hey, you are giving me names. Georgina in Ajirigano. You have your own matter to settle with someone. I beg, don't use me.
Georgina has been having sex with old men. Is that what she said?
Georgina didn't say that.
Okay.
Don't be mischievous this morning. Hey, somebody's asking what makes me able to laugh this much. Well, believe you me, any research on sex below 18 years will blow your mind. It's a disaster. Let's educate them. That's Mystic in Mataheko. Children are having a lot of sex these days. Michael Amenin, our friend in the United Kingdom. good morning to you. He sends a message, says, Esiedun Ketia and his NDC should give us a break from their propaganda and double standard. The NDC agenda by inciting the anger of Ghanaians against the government of President Akufo-Addo will not succeed. Essentially, that's what you're telling us this morning. Thank you very much for your message. Let's do the BBC.
Okay, so let's do the BBC. Fight to free final Nigeria kidnapped girl. You know that there's one young girl who apparently the father claims was not released because she was a Christian. And it's still in the hands of Boko Haram. So we're told that she's alive, though. So
yeah,
we hope that.
So a father who had two daughters. One returned home, but one was part of those who were kidnapped. She was released, and he said, "Did they do anything to you?" She said, "No, they didn't touch me." And I hope that all these girls, nothing happened to them, because we don't want anybody getting pregnant in the coming months. Seeing that the previous girls who were kidnapped. The Chibok girls, some of them came back with children. So, you know. And then what it is, Mr. Buhari negotiated for this. There are people in Nigeria, some security experts, who say, we know what Boko Haram is, we know what they're capable of doing. I think they think that it is wrong for anybody to negotiate with them. Go on to them with the force that you can. But Mr. Buhari says this is the way that he can handle it. But he's assured the parents that whatever it takes, they will get the girls back. But I say, why do we wait for the girls to be taken?
I don't know.
And then we go round, and then so Mr. Buhari is meeting the girls who have been released. And again, I wonder why do you bother to meet them? Like, I mean, what's the point?
I mean, like,
you didn't protect them.
I mean, like, how?
Yeah, it's like
I can't think far.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, seriously. What's the point?
Instead of being more proactive?
I think what we want to hear really from Mr. Buhari, because the militants have warned the girls not to go back to the school. It's like, don't go back to take that Western education. Essentially, that's what it is. We want to hear some talk about how you're going to protect them so that they can go back to school. And because going back to school is...
So far, all those promises have just been rhetoric since he came.
So instead of meeting them, give them security, let them be able to go back to school and take that education.
Agree.
That will make a lot more impact than whatever it is.
You have some
a last message. I think the sex education should be taught in our schools, from Bra Obi in Nkranza in the Bnohafu region. I'm going to keep the rest of the messages. We will come back to that after AM Talk. That's where we're doing the real deal. We're talking about when is it appropriate to sit your children down and have some sex education with them. Teach them about sex. How far can you go? When they ask you about the condom, like Roland's son asked, what do you say? Do you, I don't know.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Is it like license for them to go and practice what you've taught them? It's...
All right. So Benedict will be here with the latest sports stories. He's not talking about sex, sports.
No, he's not having sex yet.
Yeah, he's a virgin, right?
I haven't said so.
We're taking a
He doesn't have the license to. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, true.
Stay with us. We've got more coming your way.